Nowadays, we tend to believe everything that's ever existed is safely stored away online, but that couldn't be further from the truth. All too often, things get lost to the ether, never to be seen again. Sometimes, though, they do rear their strange little heads. From traumatizing films to disgusting behind-the-scenes doodles, here are some of the weirdest pieces of lost media ever.
All the sponge things.
In the mid-2000s, MTV actually broadcast music-related content instead of grown-worthy reality shows. Shocking. Even more shocking was the super weird MTV series Video Mods. Aired between 2004 and 2005, Video Mods was a collection of popular songs with alternative music videos that utilized video game character models. Yeah, it's as weird as it sounds. Unfortunately, it seems MTV didn't have the rights to any of the songs beyond the initial airing, leading to lots of the videos becoming lost. But among the fallen soldiers, none were more hotly sought after than the SpongeBob SquarePants Blink-182 video. Yep, you heard. Using models from the video game SpongeBob SquarePants Lights Camera Pants, this music video for Blink-182's hit All the Small Things supposedly aired on Video Mods back in the day. People that had grown up in the mid-2000s swore they'd seen it, but for the longest time there was zero evidence. Could it have been a fever dream? Well, thankfully no. After over a decade of hunting, the elusive video was eventually located in 2021. By sheer chance, YouTuber Mary Dan found it on an old music video compilation tape they'd recorded back in 2005. Wild. Then in 2022, it was uploaded in full by an animator who worked on the show. I can't play the actual song for copyright reasons, but feast your eyes on this. According to the uploader, the entire video was thrown together in just 48 hours after SpongeBob creator Steven Hillenburg rejected the original version. Initially, SpongeBob and pals had performed the songs themselves, but Hillenburg claimed that SpongeBob doesn't sing.
Truth brings
Something that's demonstrably false. Yep, I'm sure SpongeBob could have crushed the vocals on What's My Age Again.
and that's about the time she walked away from me.
Regardless, the team rushed to create an alternative video and a legend was born. Rock on, yellow dude. Rock on. Poke performers. Is there any form of entertainment the Japanese mega franchise Pokemon hasn't infiltrated? If you answered musicals, you'd be dead wrong. At the height of Pokemania in the West in the year 2000, the Pocket Monsters took to the stage with Pokemon Live, a live-action musical production in the United States that featured big foam Pokemon costumes and uncomfortable-looking actors. It showed several times across the US, and an adaptation of it was taken to Europe, the Middle East, and Mexico, which had particularly horrifying results. Why the mask? Why the PVC? To this day, there are absolutely no full recordings of the original US show. We do have this incredibly cringy bit of promo material, though.
Live at the Fox Theater. Now you can be there as all your favorite characters come to life in this on-stage musical adventure. It's the only...
Yikes. Some of the overseas performances have reared their ugly heads, including the vile PVC version featuring Friday the 13th Ash Ketchum.
Y sé que solo hay una.
Así que será realmente difícil de ganar, no como las que te dimos Brooke y yo.
Truly cursed. But sadly, or perhaps happily, the US version remains a ghost. The show was originally intended to be released on home video, but likely due to poor financial results and lack of interest from fans, it was canned. That does mean a high-quality full-length recording of one of those American shows is out there somewhere, though. Somewhere I hope never to go. I can't promise I'll ever show you footage of that, but I can show you other amazing things you've never seen. Drop a like and subscribe to make sure you're there when my next video drops. All done? Awesome. All work, all play. If you've ever worked fast food like I have, you'll know exactly how boring the job can be, at least if you're working in the US. In Japan, though, turns out McDonald's staff are given a Nintendo DS game to train them on the job. Or they used to be anyway. Yep, in 2010, the Big M partnered with Nintendo to create one of the coolest corporate tools imaginable. The game, titled E-Crew Development Program, teaches employees everything they need to know without the need of a pesky manual. Hardly feels like work at all, huh? And it even came with a custom Nintendo DSi console. Because the illustrious program was never intended to be released to the public, for around a decade it was shrouded in mystery. Aside from an initial announcement of the scheme and hearsay, nobody knew a gosh dang thing. That is until 2018. In September of that year, a YouTube video was uploaded by one Cody Trentuit, who'd somehow got a hold of a copy of the game years prior. In it, he showed the game launching up, but he had no way of actually playing it because it went straight onto a password screen. Dang. Was this the end of the line? Not quite. Over the next 2 years, Cody delved deep into the game's code and eventually managed to uncover the password. Without further ado, he uploaded a playthrough. Yeah, give me Mario any day. But the gameplay wasn't the point. The mystery had finally been solved. Cody, however, wasn't keen to share and refused to make the game's files public. That meant it could still be lost forever. But there was hope. The following month, a YouTuber named Nick Robinson uploaded a video revealing he'd purchased his own copy from a Japanese auction. Not only that, he dumped all of the game files on the Internet Archive for posterity. Finally, anybody can train to be a McDonald's employee. Dr. Ware? Doctor Who, a venerable British institution. Why, it's as English as the draconian television license fee that funds it. While many say the show has dipped in quality in recent years, the classic episodes are still widely beloved. But even if you bought the DVDs or hopped onto streaming services, there are some episodes you'll never be able to watch. You see, when the BBC first aired the show in 1963, preservation wasn't exactly a priority. Most of their shows were aired the once, then either destroyed or taped over to save cash. It might seem unbelievable now, but the broadcaster clearly had no idea of the cultural significance the shows might come to hold. Unfortunately, Doctor Who was no different. While audio recordings do exist, the full episodes were wiped out. At least, almost. While the master reels are all gone, other versions of the episodes were sent abroad to air on foreign networks. The BBC searched far and wide for these, and a load of them have since been found, often in the obscurest of places. One such episode, The Evil of the Daleks, was discovered in 1987 being sold off by some rando at a yard sale. I'm not surprised that thing looks cursed as hell. However, as of 2024, 97 episodes are still lost, and the search for them continues. So have a look in your attic. If you find one, you might just make a lot of people very happy. Proto-Shrek. Shrek, the big green lad, is a cultural icon. But what if I told you he was almost entirely different? That's right, Shrek wasn't always played by Mike Myers, and he didn't always look the way we know him now. See, originally, the lovable ogre was voiced by comedian Chris Farley, who played a more vulnerable version of the character. Tragically, though, Farley passed away before he could finish recording his lines, so the role was passed to Myers. The movie released in 2001, and the rest is history. But fans were aware of Farley's original version of the character, and he'd apparently recorded a whopping 85% of his lines. So where was all that audio? The thing is, nobody knew. For the longest time, it seemed cinema fans would never get to hear what Shrek could have sounded like. That was until 2015 when some of the audio was leaked onto YouTube. Fortunately, somebody quickly downloaded and re-uploaded it before the original video was deleted.
People see me and they go, "Ah! Help! A big, stupid, stinky, smelly, ugly ogre! I'm so scared!" And they judge me before they even know me. My folks always told me that everyone loves ogres.
I see.
So, I guess they were a little overprotective.
A far cry from Myers' take on the ogre, Farley's Shrek uses his more grounded American accent over the comedic Scottish that would become iconic for the character. The leaked audio wasn't the only glimpse that fans would get of the OG Ogre, however. In 2023, test footage was uploaded to the web by one of the production designers, Barry Jackson, and it's something. Man, it would have been a totally different movie. Gotta say, I'm not a fan of this original design. Kinda gives me the heebie-jeebies. But I am glad we finally got to see this amazing piece of cinema history. Victim number 1. In 2010, a strange thread was posted to SMW Central, a Super Mario ROM hacking site. For those not in the know, a ROM hack is a video game that's been edited so it plays differently from the original. This thread was about one in particular, a hack of Super Mario World simply titled Mario. According to the thread's OP, they'd booted up the hacked game and, after playing some of it, become increasingly disturbed at what they found. The game initially ran similarly to the OG Super Mario World, but quickly devolved into something much more sinister. The color palette was duller, Mario seemed to be the antagonist, and a series of increasingly creepy messages kept popping up the more OP played. Seemingly, they detailed some kind of heinous crime. But what stood out the most was this disturbing image which OP found when they converted a text file in the game's directory into a JPEG. Yeesh. The haunting pic sent everyone that was following the thread into a tizzy. What exactly was it? Where did it come from? Some suspected that the cursed-looking figure was the victim of the crime described in the ROM hack, but nobody knew for sure. Then OP stopped responding and the thread died. For over a decade, internet sleuths scoured the web in search of answers, and it wouldn't be until 2023 that the truth was finally revealed. A Discord user humbly named GOD found the original unedited image on photo sharing website Flickr and shared it. Here it is. Turns out it's somebody cosplaying Kaio, the vocalist for a Japanese heavy metal band. Okay. This random photo was taken and edited into oblivion to create the infamous image, and the original creator came out of the woodwork to confirm it. Turns out it wasn't even created for the Mario ROM hack, but to market a band named Common Man Down. Whoever created the hack simply yoinked the image and threw it in the files. As for the ROM hack itself, it's just a creepypasta somebody wrote to pass the time. And there you have it. No crimes were committed after all. Aside from crimes against fashion, that is. Everything's coming up spring. YouTuber Jenkem Chic was trawling through his collection of old childhood videotapes one evening when he stumbled on something oddly chilling.
Hey, I'm so bored. Let's go ask Grandma what we can do. Hey, Grandma, can we come back in?
What? Jenkem uploaded the eerie clip to YouTube and in the description wrote that they remembered it from their childhood. Apparently, it aired in the early morning in the late 90s and early 2000s in Columbus, Ohio on public access TV. But that was all they knew. Who created it, where it aired from, and why were a mystery. The only certainty was that it was totally uncanny.
Dress up hat. Every kind of hat. Space hat. Everything. Try me.
And that wasn't all. Jenkem followed up with more footage, this time of a strange song.
Everything's coming up spring. Everything's coming up spring.
And it just gets creepier and creepier. Well, people wanted answers and got to work spreading the word about what came known as the Pink Morning cartoon. Many were skeptical of Jenkem's story, but it would soon become apparent they were telling the truth. Web detectives started looking into the different Columbus public access networks that were active at the time and eventually discovered one named WinJLP. The station was run by a pastor called Ella Flowers and produced religious programming for kids. Could that be what the Pink Morning cartoon was? Unfortunately, Ella passed away in 2017, but hope wasn't lost. She was survived by her daughter, Angela Francis. The sleuths contacted Angela over email, and she responded confirming the show was indeed created by Ella, who did all the animation and editing herself. Man, so all that creepiness was unintentional after all. The show was called the Kids Fun Festival, but Ella's own tapes of it were stolen and destroyed by a spiteful family member. What a jerk. So these short, grainy clips on YouTube could be all the world will ever see of it again. Sad, really. A Mickey message. Back in the 60s, the Vietnam War was in full swing, much to the horror of many people at the time. Some anti-war protesters took to the streets. Some made short films showing Mickey Mouse biting the big one. Wait, huh? That's right. In 1969, a short was created by indie filmmaker Whitney Lee Savage and graphic designer Milton Glaser depicting exactly that. In it, Mickey enlists in the U.S. Army, hops off the boat in Nam, and immediately suffers a mortal wound. Yikes. Produced without the approval of the Walt Disney Company, it's rumored to have attracted the ire of the company, leading to it fading into obscurity. But all was not lost. Surprise! 44 years later, in 2013, the short was miraculously uploaded to YouTube by someone with the username Ibad Higgins. According to them, they'd found it completely by chance in a scrap film bin and saved it from destruction. Man, that's some luck. Following this incredible discovery, Milton Glaser gave a number of interviews. Turns out the short was never suppressed by Disney. It was actually designed for a film festival and only ever intended to be shown once. Mickey was chosen simply because he's a symbol of innocence, lending greater impact to the anti-war message. Rest in peace, Mickey. Let's hope Goofy doesn't decide to ship off with the Marines anytime soon. The Clockman. On an internet forum back in 2012, a user called Commander Santa posted a thread asking for help locating an old cartoon he remembered being terrified by in his childhood. He described the scene in vivid detail. A young boy was asleep in a dark room, the only sound a ticking clock. When it struck midnight, a horrifying figure crawled its way out of the clock face and grabbed the boy just as he awoke. Then it carried him off into the night. Okay, I can totally see why that'd mess you up as a kid. All Santa knew was the short had aired on Nickelodeon's show Pinwheel, which first ran between 1977 and 1984. Naturally, some people thought he'd made the whole thing up for the troll, but he was a respected member of the forum, so that didn't make any sense. And it turns out quite a few others also remembered the Clockman. Before long, the thread had gained a ton of traction, but nobody had the answer. For years, there were no leads whatsoever, until in December 2017, everything changed. A Lost Media Wiki user named Nitrate Nerd was conducting his own search for the short, and while scouring the internet, he found a strange YouTube video simply named Sally. Take a look.
Už tě mám.
Damn, it was on YouTube the entire time? Holy cow. The short was a Czech animation entitled Op Hradeví Sale, and after hearing about it, Santa took a look. He'd misremembered a few details, such as the gender of the kid, but sure enough, he confirmed it was indeed the legendary Clockman. But I gotta ask, is the Clockman as creepy as you'd imagined it to be, or was it a huge letdown? I know what my thoughts are. Let me know yours in the comments down below. A sci-fi search. When you think of the birth of science fiction, what springs to mind? Star Wars? Star Trek? Doctor Who? Well, in reality, the 1927 German movie Metropolis beat them all to the punch. At its release, it was hugely ambitious and expensive, but didn't perform as well with initial audiences as hoped. In response, the movie was cut down extensively from its initial 153-minute runtime to around 90. It was this edited cut that most of the world saw, but all the act scenes meant what remained made little sense and was written off as a stinker. However, the myth of the original cut persisted among film buffs for decades. Fast forward to 2008, and Paula Felix Didier had been newly installed as curator for a museum of cinema in Argentina and heard a strange rumor. Supposedly, a local screening of Metropolis a few years prior had ran a little long. After doing some digging, she discovered that unbelievably an original copy of the movie had been bouncing around the local cinephile circles for years. The kicker? It was currently sat within the very museum she was running. Yep, for decades people in the area had been seeing the long-lost cut of Metropolis without even realizing it. Pfft, some film lovers. You'd think at least one of them would have clocked on. But how did it end up in the museum in the first place? We're not entirely sure. But supposedly a Buenos Aires film distributor acquired it back in 1928, and over the years it changed hands several times until it eventually ended it up in the museum, with the owner none the wiser to its cultural significance. Now, aside from 2 scenes that were damaged, the movie is considered 99% complete, and restored versions of it can be watched all over the place. That's a win for cinema history, lost media fans, and anybody that likes sci-fi. The Back Rooms. If you spent any amount of time on the internet over the last few years, I'm sure you've heard the legend of the back rooms. Supposedly, it's possible to glitch through reality and end up in these sickly yellow endless halls. Spooky. It's all just an internet horror story, of course, playing on the uncanny nature of liminal spaces. But there is a real mystery behind it. Where did this original image come from? Is it a photo? If so, where the hell was it taken? And by who? The image first made a splash when it was posted to 4chan's paranormal board in May 2019 on a thread asking for images that just feel off. Absolutely zero context was provided on the scary spooky snap. If we look at the file name, however, you can see it's composed of 13 numbers, which could imply it's a Unix timestamp. This is where the numbers in a file denote the seconds passed since 1970, and in this case it date the image way back to 2012. That's far before AI image programs became widespread, which rules out that idea. For years that was all that anybody knew about the mysterious picture, until everything changed in 2024. Internet detectives managed to trace the original 4chan post to a blog post from 2003 detailing the renovation of a hobby store in Wisconsin. That's right, this infamous image is just the back rooms of an old store in the middle of a facelift. But I have to say, even though we now know exactly where it came from, it still feels off. Maybe it's just because of the scary legacy the image has left online, but I still don't like looking at it. The Thing in the Ceiling. Man, what is it with old Nickelodeon shorts being so creepy? On June 19th, 2022, this post appeared on Reddit's Lost Media sub. According to the poster, it showed a single spine-chilling still from a lost short film aired around 2004 on the network. I mean, it's already spooky enough, but when you notice the freaky baby head thing in the top right, and it cranks the fear to a whole new level. Thanks to some commenters who recalled it, the short was quickly identified as "Oh Dear" by one Ji-Wook Kim. Only apparently nobody had seen it since that first airing. All hope was lost, right? Wrong. A follow-up post appeared just 12 days later announcing that, yeah, it'd been found. 12 days? How the heck did they do it? Well, the person who found it had trawled through an old recording of a Nickelodeon cartoon festival they had, and lo and behold, it featured on it. It's as unsettling as you'd expect. At a little over 2 minutes, the plot revolves around an elderly woman being glued to her TV while weird things happen around her that only her cat notices. The dull colors, strange music, and freaky visuals all make the whole thing unsettling as hell. Certainly a far cry from what kids' TV is like nowadays. But still, 12 days? That's gotta be one of the shortest searches for lost media ever. Gotta say, I sorta wish this one had stayed lost though. The Demon Lady. Reddit user Mothman Cigar posted to the Tip of My Tongue subreddit back in 2020 inquiring about a, quote, demon candy commercial. No, that's not a band name. Apparently, she'd been told a story by her boyfriend's parents about a super eerie ad they saw back in 1999. In it, a group of people are hanging out in a living room when one of them abruptly turns into a demon. After they're given a candy bar, though, they revert back to normal. Classic demon behavior. It might not sound that scary, but apparently the sheer unexpectedness of the transformation made it especially freaky. After hearing about it, Mothman Cigar's curiosity got the better of her, and she took to Reddit. Turns out a lot of people had vague memories of the sinister commercial. Other commenters recalled it was for some kind of oat or carb bar, and that it was one of 2 commercials in the same format. But as is often the case, it wasn't exactly easy to track down. The search stalled entirely until 2021 when Discord user JFin stumbled on a compilation of old ads on YouTube. You guessed it, the Demon Candy Bar ad was right there.
Thing.
Oh, I read about that.
It's so cute.
Not as cute as these pigs in a blanket. Come on, Jamie.
Ditch the diet.
Jeepers. Yeah, I can see how that would jump scare you if you weren't expecting it. A year later in 2022, now armed with the name of the product, Carb Solutions, another lost media hunter found the second commercial.
Feeding it?
No, thanks.
So, snack mix? Come on, take the snack mix.
Yep, that's gonna be burnt into my retinas for some time. Dem bones. We've already seen some super creepy shorts that were aired on Nickelodeon, but if you believe Redditor DeadUser00, they're far from the creepiest the broadcaster has ever shown. See, back in 2019, he posted to the Tip of My Tongue subreddit seeking his own Lost Nick short. DeadUser lived in South America and recalled a short film that he claimed was called The Butcher. Yeah, getting bad vibes already. Shot in black and white, it featured a disembodied hand coming out of the darkness holding a long knife. Macabre animals made from actual bones came into shot, and the hand, well, butchered them. DeadUser attached this image to demonstrate what the animals looked like. Damn, that's horrifying. Apparently, in the end, the skelly animals rose up and beat back their oppressor, but geez, the whole thing seems very dark. While the post generated a massive amount of buzz, The Butcher remains lost as of 2024. There are many who question whether the film ever existed at all. I've done some digging, and it turns out DeadUser00 is a creative and avid horror fan, and he's currently working on a horror comic. So he'd definitely be able to come up with a unique, creepy idea like this to troll people. And if he didn't make it up, he might have just misremembered it, because if you ask me, it sounds like way too much for Nickelodeon to air for kids. I don't know. What do you think? Reckon The Butcher was real, or is it all just a big hoax? Let me know your thoughts down below. Illustrated Evils. When you think of cartoon animators, you probably think of wholesome, happy fellas, especially when it comes to people that worked on kid-friendly cartoons, like, say, SpongeBob, right? Well, you're dead wrong, and you should go sit in the naughty corner. In 2012, American animator Kent Osborne was interviewed by the magazine Hogan's Alley. In the interview, he describes a seriously rude book of drawings that bored SpongeBob animators collaborated on behind the scenes. No resident of Bikini Bottom was spared from appearing in it, and they were all drawn in a variety of compromising positions. According to Osborne, the book was fittingly named Behind Closed Doors, and a copy was given to all the storyboard artists. Since that fateful interview, curious fans have desperately sought out the disgusting images. Unsurprisingly, though, they've been kept tightly under lock and key. But don't worry, the world would eventually get a tantalizing tease. In July 2023, YouTuber Al Supersonic Q announced that he'd hit the jackpot after exchanging some messages with an anonymous person who'd been gifted a copy of Behind Closed Doors. He'd been sent a few photos of its contents. Prepare yourself. Ready? Okay then, here's just one of the images that appear inside. No, I'm not removing the censor. And here's another. Horrified yet? You should be, they just get worse. Jeez, no wonder the illustrators wanted to hide them. Right, that's enough. There's no way of knowing if we'll ever get to see the full horrors that await inside this depraved book, but maybe that's a good thing. Okay, you can come out of the naughty corner now. I'm sending all the SpongeBob animators there instead. And on that utterly disgusting note, I'm done with Lost Media for the day. Had you heard of any of these before watching the video? Let me know down in those comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.